Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Hi, and welcome to episode 325 of Martha Runs the World. There are a ton of missing persons podcasts, but as I recall, there are only a couple of them that focus on people missing from national parks. And I don't know of any podcasts that focus on missing runners. For that reason, I thought I'd do an episode on missing runners, be they missing from the road or the trail. I'm not changing the theme of the podcast, no worries. I do know of one YouTuber who completely changed his podcast from a hiking podcast into a missing person podcast. And it's too bad because he had a really good YouTube channel going, and now it just sounds like 100 other ones. It was very unique, and now it's meh. I think he probably gets more views because people like that crime stuff, but I liked it the way it was before. But anyway, I'm not changing anything over, but I thought I'd take one episode and talk about some unfortunate runners who were missing. If you like this episode, maybe I'll do another one in the future if I can find more missing runners. There aren't the number of missing runners as there are hikers. There's a huge number of missing hikers for a variety of reasons. But the reasons why hikers are missing make it understandable why there are more of them than runners. I did a Google search on why runners don't get as lost as hikers, and Google AI gave me some reasons, and I wanted to share to see how accurate AI would be in this area. Familiarity and safety. Many runners, especially those who are new to the sport, stick to familiar routes and areas, which are typically well-trafficked and easily accessible. This reduces the risk of getting lost or encountering dangerous situations. And that's true. Runners tend to stay in the same area that they're used to, especially like trail runners. They like certain routes and they'll stick to those routes. Most runners do anyway. Short distances and durations. Most runs are relatively short in distance and duration, meaning that even if a runner gets lost or injured, they're likely to be found within a reasonable time frame. This is true with most everybody, but ultra runners, as we know. Well, it was true with me. When I got injured, I was a mile from the trailhead, so that's true. Of course, ultra runners will go farther, but still, they're not going to go out for multiple days. It isn't like a through hike with a hiker. A lot of hikers get lost because they're on long backpacking trips. Runner awareness. Many runners are aware of the risks of running in unfamiliar or dangerous areas and take precautions to ensure their safety, such as running with a friend, carrying a phone, GPS system, or letting someone know their route and expected return time. This is also true. And I think they're onto something very, very key here. Technology and communication. Modern technologies such as GPS trackers and smartphones can help runners stay connected and alert authorities if they get into trouble. This is another key here. Whereas a lot of hikers may be older, maybe they don't have the GPS equipment that runners do. Most runners, they love technology and they love gadgets, so they are mostly prepared for that kind of thing. Search and rescue capabilities. Search and rescue teams are well equipped and trained to locate missing individuals, including runners, and can often find them quickly. Runners are not usually going to go off trail as quickly as maybe hikers are. Maybe they don't need to use the bushes so much. Lack of awareness of risks. Some people may not fully appreciate the risks associated with running in certain areas, such as remote trails or areas with wildlife. And I don't think there's a huge number of runners in remote areas, to be honest. I think you'll find a lot more hikers, camping, and backpacker types in more remote areas. Trail runners tend to stay in areas closer to the cities, closer to inhabited areas. This doesn't pertain to trail runners who live in remote areas, obviously, but I don't think there are as many of those as there are in closer areas like where I live. We don't have a whole lot of remote areas with dangerous wildlife. Let's just put it that way. There aren't any grizzly bears where I live. Genetics and fitness. Humans are naturally adapted for endurance running with our locomotor skills and dominated by slow twitch, fatigue-resistant fibers, and our unique ability to sweat allows our bodies to effectively dissipate heat. And I think this is key. Most people hiking don't have the same fitness levels as ultra runners, and I think many people when they hike, unless they hike all the time, are in perfect shape, get out of shape quickly and can either get overwhelmed by the heat or the cold. And that's where a lot of people get lost and a lot of people get hurt. And maybe that happens a lot. A lot of the missing hikers, missing people stories that I hear, it's because they aren't prepared for the heat, like in Death Valley or the Grand Canyon, or they aren't prepared for the cold, like in the Olympic National Forest. It's one or the other, usually. So I think this is a really big thing that they're onto. Genetics and running performance. Many physiological characteristics that directly impact running performance are in fact genetically influenced. For example, research has found that trainability and value of VO2 max, an individual's maximal oxygen consumption, and a key indicator of running potential, to be approximately 50% heritable. And I don't know how true this is. I don't know if I got mine through heredity. I'm not sure, or if it's just through hard work. I don't know. I don't know who in my family were runners, certainly not anyone within the generations I knew. I mean, my dad was a mountain climber. He wasn't a runner, so I don't know. The various cases I'm going to talk about are a mix of trail runners and road runners, male and female. They could be accidental deaths or not so accidental. We are not sure. Many have not been found at all. Some have been found. The agony that these families must go through, I have no way of understanding. I have no way of comprehending how painful and heartbreaking it is. I will make their lives and disappearances as respectful and as honorable as I can. The first one I want to talk about is Jenny Hall. Jenny Hall was confirmed missing by police on Thursday, February 20th, 2025. This is a very recent case, and all the information is not in. They don't even know all the information. She was last seen leaving her home in the small town of Tow Law in the UK after 3 p.m. local time on February 18th. Now, Tow Law is a small village next to the North Pennines National Landscape, which is a beautiful windswept open space of grassy hills, woods, rushing creeks, and ancient crumbling structures. It's in the north part of the UK, and it's absolutely beautiful. I saw pictures of it, and it's a prime place to trail run. It's a prime place to live. It's absolutely beautiful. Police said that Hall's red Ford Focus was found on a road between the village of Eggleston and the town of Stanhope the day before she went missing. In an updated Facebook post on Friday, February 21st, officers confirmed that Hall's last known location was where her car was parked. Police stated in the post that Hall was a keen, long-distance runner, and they were carrying a wider search in the Teesdale area. While focusing on running trails she often used. One of the areas Hall frequently ran through was Hamsterley Forest, which spans 4,942 acres, according to the BBC. The Teesdale and Weardale Search and Mountain Rescue Team confirmed in a Facebook post on Thursday that they were assisting police with the search of Hall. Challenging weather conditions and terrain in the area made the search difficult, authorities said. Behind the scenes, digital intelligence officers have conducted extensive inquiries into Jenny's mobile phone, smartwatch, and running apps, but none have yielded any results, police said on Friday. Now, 5 days later, they did find a body of Jenny Hall. Police said that they didn't think any suspicious circumstances were involved. There aren't any updates to this case, and I looked everywhere and I didn't see that anything else was going on. They didn't show any reason why she had passed on. They didn't have any more updates. I couldn't find anything else about it. So I'm not sure. We don't know what happened with her, but she did indeed pass. David Lund. On October 1st, 2022, 29-year-old David Lund drove from Durango up to La Plata Canyon and to the base of the Madden Peak Trail, which is more old, rocky mining road than trail that switchbacks up to the ridge. He embarked at about 7 a.m. to run and hike a portion of the La Plata Enchilada, a sort of high traverse, masochistic circumnavigation of the trail. He didn't show up for work that night and was reported missing the next day, triggering an intense and rather urgent search, given that pouring rain had turned to snow and nighttime temperatures were potentially life-threatening. No trace of him was ever found. And a group of searchers made up of mostly volunteers spent Saturday looking for the 29-year-old David Lund in the La Plata County backcountry. He never returned. Search teams have reported no sign of him. Not a clue, not a trace is the recurring phrase coming from search personnel, according to the La Plata County Search and Rescue spokesperson Ted Holteen. After tomorrow, the search will be suspended as the area has been searched in its entirety, he added. Lund planned to be out a few hours, his parents told the Durango Herald. He had completed 2 half marathons this year and was training to take part in a 6 Summit event on October 23rd, his birthday. And then I think the rain or the weather hit at approximately 10:30 a.m., Nathan Lund, David's father, told the Durango Herald. And at that time, we don't know where he was. When David didn't show up for work the next morning, his girlfriend called 911. The search started October 2nd. Lund's blue car remained at the trailhead for several days as searchers, along with friends from the Durango Running Club, of which Lund was a member, looked for him. Nothing was spared in the effort to locate Lund. Searchers on foot crisscrossed trails, combed through wooded ravines and valleys, and scoured the summits of multiple peaks. Mounted patrols, dogs, helicopters, drones, and airplanes outfitted with video cameras with software designed to locate people on the ground were all used. It was a huge effort. An estimated 3,462 hours went into the search. Days later, officials deemed the mission to find Lund a recovery operation. The La Plata Enchilada runs along Parrott, Madden, and Gibbs Peaks, so it forms a line of peaks which lie about 12 miles northwest of Durango. They never did find him, and he completely disappeared, so no one really knows what happened. Ariel Valdez. Valdez's sister, Isabel Hergert, posted this statement on her Facebook page, where she has been provided updates since Valdez disappeared on August 24th, 2024. Sister, Ari, you were good for this world. I love you, and I will see you again in every lifetime. You are a piece of my soul that I always look for. Thank you so much for the love we have received from the community. Please give us privacy while we grieve our angel. Wednesday will mark 1 week since Ariel Valdez was last seen. And this is like what happened right after she disappeared. Since her disappearance in North Fort Myers on October 28th, there had been a community-wide effort fueled by communication and updates on social media. Now, here's what they knew at that point. Valdez was 21 years old. It had been reported on social media that she was training for a marathon. She was last seen on a run on August 28th, 2024, at 6:45 p.m., and she was running southbound on US 41 from Pondella Road in North Fort Myers by her neighborhood. Additionally, cameras captured her going southbound toward the Edison Bridge shortly after 6:50 p.m. Valdez was wearing a light-colored hoodie sweater, gym shorts, and what appeared to be black and white high-top Converse-style sneakers. She completely disappeared. They didn't find out anything about her until 5 days later. Breaking news. The body of Ariel Valdez, 21, had been found in Fort Myers. And they did find her, but they didn't share what had happened to her afterwards. But they did find her, and that's where the announcement of her sister came up on Facebook. And it's a tragic story, but they're not sure what happened to her, and that's all that I have about that story. The next one is a real mystery, and I'll give some thoughts about what I think is going on there, but I'm not sure because I've never been there and I've never seen. I'll give my guess about what is happening. Now, 4 runners have disappeared in the last 2 years from the Portuguese island of Madeira. What is going on there? On December 11th, 2022, elite British runner Darren Kay went missing on the Portuguese island of Madeira, just off the coast of northern Africa. Kay was the 4th runner in 2 years to go missing on the island. Joshua Hardenberg, a 28-year-old German, went missing on December 29th, 2020. Polish 35-year-old Michael Kozik vanished July 7th, 2021. And French tourist Benoit Way, 35, disappeared September 1st, 2021. They went without a trace, no clothing found or spotted, all with backpacks. All disappeared. How is it possible? Even if they all have fallen and died? Well, like I said, I'll give you my conjecture after I tell what happened. Madeira is home to high peaks, massive cliffs, and rocky terrain. There's heavy wind and high tides, and it's kind of a difficult island to get around. The trails are very, very narrow, very dangerous, very slippery. Accidents involving tourists exploring Madeira's hillside walks are not uncommon, but situations in which they disappear altogether, leaving absolutely no clues as to what may have happened, are not common, reported a Portugal resident. The island of Madeira is owned by Portugal. It's a little under 400 kilometers north of the Canary Islands and 520 kilometers west of Morocco. It's 801 square kilometers. The population is 250,000, but they get a lot of visitors, mostly from Europe. It's composed of volcanic, craggy cliffs, dense rainforests, both leading to dramatic beaches. The trails can be hazardous, especially for those not accustomed to them. This might account that no native Madeirans have ever gone missing from those trails, or have gone missing from those trails. I don't know about ever. The wild speculation about the disappearances have included UFOs, the paranormal, and drug dealers, but I don't think it has anything to do with any of that. I think it really has to do with them slipping and falling. Because if you're not used to those trails and you're used to going very quickly, you probably are moving too fast, especially if you're a more elite trail runner and you're used to going very quickly. You can get your sense of self-assuredness too much and you may be going way too fast and all of a sudden you slip and fall and then boom, you're gone and maybe the tide is up and the ocean is below and it takes you right out to sea and you're never going to be seen again. That could happen. And it could happen to someone, of course, who doesn't know the area, who doesn't know the trails, who doesn't know the environment, who doesn't know the tides. That's why there's no trace of them afterwards. It could happen. It could definitely happen. And that's why it hasn't happened to any Madeiran, because they know the trails. They know the course. So that's why it's super important, if you are not familiar with the trail, if you are not familiar with the environment, to go a little slower than you think you should. It can save your life. But maybe that's not what happened. But that's what I think would happen in these 4 cases. The last one I want to talk about is Joe Keller. This is from the book The Cold Vanish by John Billman. About the time Joe Keller turned 19, he and his friends from Cleveland, Tennessee, made a big road trip out west. They visited Las Vegas, San Francisco, and the Grand Canyon. And now they were going on their way back east. They were stopping at Joe's aunt's and uncle's ranch in Conejo County, New Mexico. This is wide open range country. It's deserty, but there are big rocks and mountains and canyons. So it's pretty fun country, especially if you're a runner. Lots of trails, lots of places to explore. Now, Joe was a competitive runner and swimmer, as were his friends. During his first afternoon at the ranch, they hadn't even settled down, so this is his first afternoon at the ranch, he decided to go for an hour run with his friend Colin. He left his wallet and phone at the ranch house. It wasn't like there was any cell coverage out there anyway. This is a pretty remote area. So the two headed out towards Black Mountain, which is about 11,000 feet in elevation. And somehow the two got separated. They weren't used to it. They didn't know the area very well anyway. And Colin came back. He lost track of his friend. So maybe he thought, oh, well, maybe Joe went back to the ranch. So he came back to the ranch and didn't see any sign of Joe. So he waited for his friend. Now, later that evening at 7:30, no sign of Joe. So they got a small group from the ranch, went out to look for him. By 9:30, there wasn't a sign for him, so they got a bigger group out. At 10 p.m., not a sign of Joe, so they called the sheriff's department and Joe's parents. Sheriff's department had a huge group out, and his parents flew out from Tennessee. After days and days of searching, nothing was found. They searched for weeks. Nothing was ever found. They went all over the area. They could not find anything at all about him. And that doesn't really surprise me because it's a huge area. There's lots of rocks. There's lots of places for things to hide. It's not like it's just flat, wide open space, flat, where you can see everything. There are canyons, there are crevasses, there are big rocks. It's a difficult area to search. It wasn't until nearly a year later that his body was discovered by a local who was out with his dogs. And it wasn't far from where they had looked. It's just not where they had looked. That's what makes these missing person cases in the wilderness so difficult, so hard, is that you can look in these areas, but if you miss one little part, that's maybe where they are. And if you've got 100,000 acres to look, how are you going to look at every single part, every single little bit of the area to find somebody? It's nearly impossible. It's intensely... I know it must be just so aggravating and exasperating and sad for these families, just not being able to find their loved ones. But being in the wilderness, it's just nearly impossible to look everywhere. And there's so many of these cases, these hiker cases and these backpacking cases and stuff where the person is never found again. But maybe they will be found in decades later. Maybe something of them will be found. But it's hard to say because there's just so much wilderness area to look. How do you scope over every inch of wilderness? It's impossible, really. It really is. We just don't have that kind of time in the world. But it's really vital for you to take GPS with you. Even if it's your phone, even if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you decide to go for a trail run and you're out of distance of your phone, it really does pay to have some kind of GPS system like a Garmin Mini Reach. You don't have to have the Mini Reach. You can have another system, but it really is important to have that with you. I know they're expensive. It is not a cheap thing, but it's really important to have that with you. I'm no longer doing that kind of thing anymore, but if I was planning on doing it, I would have it with me. But it really is super important to have that because, and also too, tell somebody where you're going to be. Say, someone, I'm going to be here. If you can't find me, this is where I'm going to be. That's another thing. These are two things you should have with you. You should have a GPS tracking system with you and tell someone where you're going to be. I will never say you can't do something alone. I'm never going to say that because I do something alone all the time. I'm always alone. But if you do those two things, you have much better chance of being found if something happens. Seriously, these are the two things that will really save you. All right. Those are the stories of the missing runners that I have for you today. And if you're interested in this kind of subject, I can do another one again in the future. If you would like, I can do a part 2, or let me know. And all the links for the information can be found at martharunstheworld.com. You can email me at martharunstheworld@gmail.com. Now, I have an equipment review. And whenever I do equipment reviews, it's for stuff I paid for. I've never given anything away for free. I had to buy a new watch because my old watch was dying on me slowly and surely. I know I needed an upgrade on my Garmin because of my 50-mile race in June. I'm going to need a watch with a bigger battery life. So I got the Garmin Forerunner 965, and I really like it. It was easy to set up. It was easy to get everything squared away. The only thing that's kind of weird is it doesn't say miles, it says laps. And I know I'm on the right part of it because it gives me the choice of laps and kilometers. It's just weird how it doesn't say miles. I don't know. Maybe it has something against miles? I don't know. It's kind of weird. But other than that, I really like it. I like the color scheme. I like the face of it. I got it put into where I like what I want on the face of the watch. I like where the numbers and things are big enough so that when I'm out running or hiking, I don't have to put my glasses on to read it. It has a nice big watch face, so I like that. And I really enjoy it. It's a nice watch, and I think it'll do just fine for me. I think I'm going to have this for a few years. So I enjoyed that. I also got it on sale, which was very nice. That's one of the reasons why I bought it when I did. I could probably have staggered on with my other watch for a while, but no, I like this one. It's cool. I'll stick with it for a while. So that is my Garmin 965 review. It's a pretty cool watch. I certainly can't afford a Fenix. I didn't want to change brands either. I like Garmin, so I'm going to stick with Garmin. All right, so that is today's show. That is it. And if you, like I said, go to the website at martharunstheworld.com, and you'll see all the links for all the information that I had for you today. And that is it. So until next week, let's tie up your shoelaces and go for a run.